What's up, everybody? It is Jabril Mack with Animation Hustle. We got a brand new video for you guys, so let's jump right into it. Today we'll be looking at animator Pete Docter. You guys probably know him as a Pixar guy. You know, he was an animator on Toy Story back in the day, and eventually worked his way up to directing Inside Out. He directed Up. He directed Monsters, Inc. All these Pixar classics. He is now actually head of all of Pixar Studio. He has a new movie, Soul, dropping pretty soon, so I thought it'd be a perfect time to look at his career, look at his life, and see what advice he has for animators. So let's jump right into it. These are animation tips by Pete Docter.
Make sure to stay fed, so in other words, go to museums, go sketch people in the park, watch movies, get out there. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why John Lasseter really encourages us to do research at the beginning, because if you have a very shallow pool that you're pulling from, it kind of exhausts it pretty quickly. But if you've got a massive depth of all this stuff that you've looked into and know about, you're just going to be able to go much deeper.
I think it's really important. It's something I've noticed with you. I mean, as Pete directs and directs animation, I see a lot of people that love animation or love film, and so that's all they study. But I've always noticed you don't refer to just animation. I mean, you look at everything, other movies, just observation of things, and that really feeds filmmaking. I mean, filmmaking is really just honoring what you observe, right, and caricaturing it or portraying it how you want. And so I just say, I just to echo that, it's just go as wide as you can. Look for things everywhere.
Practice and feed yourself.
Your kids were 6 and 3 when you made this, and again, Inside Out we'll talk about a little bit later on, but there is some personal stuff in that film. Is there anything of your kids in this film, or is this something of you looking, in Monsters, Inc., or is this you primarily looking back?
What happened was, I loved work. As soon as I got to Pixar, I would just stay there all day and all night. My wife, when we first got married, we'd eat dinner and then she'd come and play video games and fall asleep until I would wake her up at 2 in the morning when I was done animating, and we'd go home and I'd go back to work because I just couldn't get enough. And then we had a kid. Right. And so Monsters started at about the same time the kid did. And and as I was working on the film, I was like, this is great. And then my wife would say, he smiled for the first time, and you missed it because you're at work. Right. And I was like, how do I make this go? Because I want to be in both places, but I can't. And that really is what became the story, the sort of emotional backbone of Monsters. A Sully, who's a monster who loves his job, suddenly gets this kid, which is at first scary and weird, which is true of real kids. And then he grows to care for her more than he does the job. And so, it's that impossible struggle with no answer that I think makes for good stories.
And I mean, I think it refers back to what you were talking about earlier, that the sticky content is the stuff that comes from an emotional moment or an emotional epiphany or something that may be only really known to you, but it comes through in the story somehow.
Yeah, and it's weird, like, as other people have noticed this too, that the more particular and specific you are in the storytelling, the more generally it applies.
Right.
If you try to generalize, then nobody really gets anything, but if you're very specific and personal about it, it seems to resonate more. First we have the dialogue, and I look at the dialogue to see where the sound falls and how I can fit the visuals to the dialogue. We start with, this is the soundtrack, and that's all we have to go with. So we have...
Nothing. I'm sure Andy was just a little excited, that's all.
And we try to find out on what frame does each sound fall on so we can fit the visuals to the sound. Based on the sound, I figure out what I want him to do. I do thumbnails indicating his acting. And that way I know exactly what I'm going for in the computer before I start. So I try to really think about what is the dialogue saying, where does he come from and where is he going in this scene. So that's all done in the planning of the thumbnails. So this is Woody, this is his stand-in, which means that it's just made out of basic geometric shapes like cylinders and spheres. And it goes faster, that's why we use it at this point, to figure out the motion. To move Woody, I just move the controls. This is his elbow. I can move his elbow up or down. The next one down is the wrist. I can move his wrist. however I want him to look. And so on down. Here's his first finger. I don't know if you can see that. The nice thing about working with the stand-in model is that it's actually a benefit to you as an actor. I think if you can actually make it work and read and communicate without any facial expressions, without the use of you know, your face, then you've done a really successful job.
When it used to be, when I was a kid, you'd shoot on Super 8 film, and you had to have enough money for that, and then you'd take it to the get it developed and wait a couple days. Now you have your iPhone. You could literally make a movie with this thing. You can, using your computer, you can do stuff. A lot of times people come to me and say, I'm thinking about getting into animation. I'm like, well, do it. You would never expect a kid to pick up a violin and play at Carnegie Hall that night, right? Filmmaking is the same way. It takes a lot of practice. There are going to be a lot of mistakes, and you just have to do a lot of it before you're going to get really good. I know growing up, like I said, I felt like there were these people who were just born unfairly talented. And that's true, but even they had to work really hard.
So there you have it. Those are some animation tips from Pete Docter. He is such a successful filmmaker, successful artist, that it's great to get some insights and see how he makes this stuff happen. Because we all know, it's not easy. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment down below. Let me know what animation tip you like the best and what animator you want to see featured. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram @AnimationHustle for daily animation inspiration, and I will see you guys in the next video.